7 in Israel who were innocent civilians? What's the purpose? Or do you just take it as the will of God is just the will of God? How do you ground yourself in your religious beliefs in the midst of what's currently taking place and the divisions we're seeing, especially amongst the Christian religious leaders? Keep your thoughts coming on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps as well, 072-702-1702. It's 9:31. Swiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. EFF leader Julius Malema's legal team says it's on standby for an appeal in his gun violence case. EWN understands that a team of lawyers will go to Makhanda, where the High Court will be petitioned should the judgment not favour Malema. Sentencing proceedings have started in the East London Magistrates Court in Gugompo this morning. Malema was last year convicted for discharging a firearm in public during a 2018 political rally in the Eastern Cape. The state wants 15 years of direct imprisonment for the EFF leader, but EFF spokesperson Nao Tambo says Malema's legal team has indicated that it's preparing for the appeal.
So we had to listen what is going to be the conviction. We're aware that the state is pursuing a custodial sentence of 15 years. We're going to oppose that. We're going to appeal that if it is ever brought to the fore.
And Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen is claiming an early success in the vaccination against foot and mouth disease, with no new outbreaks reported among already vaccinated cattle. Steenhuisen says this is an indication that the vaccination strategy is starting to work, with more than 2 million animals inoculated so far. But there's still a long way to go to prevent new outbreaks, with cases reported across all provinces over the past week. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Bedford View, we've got delays on the N3 North approaching the Kilulis interchange. Roadworks are causing these delays. There's also queuing traffic on the R24 and the N12 West between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. Travelling on the M1 South, there's some delays between the Baklu interchange and Marlborough Drive. And traffic is also a bit sluggish along the M2 West heading towards Amalgam between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road. Traffic lights are out of order. This is in the Fourways area at Winnie Mandela Drive and Leslie, Monte Casino, and they're also out of order in North Riding at Malibongwe and Mahogany. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
I presume that judges and magistrates will need to silence the noise that come with a high-profile case such as that of Julius Malema, for example.
In high-profile cases, such as the one under consideration, courts avoid public pressure by adhering strictly to constitutional mandate of impartiality, focusing solely on evidence presented in court and maintaining ethical conduct that separates them from public opinion, political and media pressure.
That's Jonathan Rachibumo.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Some returns are worth the wait. Your favorite band, that binge-worthy series. And now, the return of Motor Select's Demo Deal Dash. From this Thursday, 16 April to Saturday, 18 April, get up to 100,000 Rand trade-in assist on any demo model. Hurry to motorselect.co.za or any participating Motor Select dealership nationwide. 3 days, one big return. T's and C's apply.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment at 702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
The 702 and MTN Business are celebrating small business owners who really walk that entrepreneurial talk, proving that big things can grow from bold ideas. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards, and standout SMEs are stepping into the spotlight from the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. Tune in to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and Afternoon Drive with John Pellman every weekday to meet our finalists and hear their stories. And if you're running a small business or know one that should be part of this conversation, there's still time to enter or nominate at primemediaplus.com, because the next business we talk about could be yours. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. T's and C's and more on primemediaplus.com.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
23 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your calls on 011-883-0702. This is the 702 open line. I've been asking you about pocket watching. Is that something you think we should do? So if you've got someone around you, a friend, an acquaintance, a family member with unexplained wealth or wealth that is above what is expected from their income, or do you think that is pocket watching and it's just allow people to live their lives because you just don't know, if they've got other investments you may not be aware of. I'm also asking you about how you ground yourself in this moment where there's a lot taking place in the Middle East and a lot of our religious leaders have a lot to say about it. Do you take the cue from your pastor? Do you take the cue from a pope as a Catholic? Do you take it from the news, from broadcasters, from what is it that grounds you in your religious beliefs whenever you look at what's taking place in the Middle East? Easy, you are calling us from Midrand. Let's start with you. What do you want to say about the issue of pocket watching and unexplained wealth? Hi.
Morning, Madimecha.
Sure.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Just to chip on the very same subject, I maintain, as I said before, until such time we subject people to stringent vetting processes and lifestyle audits. I'm now talking about people occupying positions of authority and key and strategic positions. We'll still be here. We are simply wasting our time. People must just explain their wealth. We are not saying it's wrong for people to be super rich and all of those things, but can they then explain how they amass wealth? Until then, we're wasting our time, Clement.
But must they explain themselves to us in our circles, or they do that at work? Because I'm asking a separate conversation now, right? Of course, at work, there are lifestyle audits that even our government is doing against its employees. It's working in some instances, it's not working in others. I'm just asking because, there are many times when people do things and then we say, oh my goodness, I didn't know. Because there are people who are friends with Gareth Mnisi. And they've just seen him driving expensive cars, more than 5 vehicles, has properties worth 36 million rand. They've seen all of that. And then when they now see the Madlanga Commission, they're like, oh my goodness. But then you say to them, but didn't you guys see, if this person told you all they did was to be CFO and they're earning 120,000, how is it that they're able to afford over 10 properties worth that amount of money and all these vehicles they have? So what's our responsibility? Like in our social circles, should we be asking people that? Should you be asking your brother, your cousin, your friend that, bro, I know you're an IT professional, you're a broadcaster or whatever, you're a lawyer and you have a private jet or you fly private like jet? How does that happen? Should we do that, or that's crossing the line?
No, Clement, without necessarily trying to police people's pockets and all of those things. I believe that both at a professional level and at a social level, we have a responsibility as a nation to hold our acquaintances, our friends accountable. Let them explain to us. If I continue to associate myself with people who have wealth that they can't explain, I'm complicit. I'm as guilty as those people.
Yeah.
To explain themselves.
No, got you. Easy in Midrand. Thank you. But here's a question: Would you not be offended if your friend said to you, hey, I saw you flew first class, Emirates. What happened? I saw when you went to New York, you flew first class. Where did you get the money for that? I mean, I probably would be a little offended because, first of all, you don't know my pocket. Like, you don't know how long I've saved for me to get there. And I don't need to be explaining myself extensively like that. I think I would. Unless, and it also depends who is asking. I mean, if it's a personal close friend, the conversation is different. If it's an acquaintance or a distant friend, I think that would be a bit wild. So then how do people then satisfy themselves, so to speak, that, it's fine, Shem. This guy maybe just works harder. So what do we do and how do we do it? So if we're saying it's okay for us to ask those questions, so do we ask the questions amongst ourselves as other friends? Or do we go directly to Clement and say, hey, what's happening? I think you're living large, or the house you live in, or whatever the case is that you've picked up from your friends that you just think is just not explainable when you look at the income that they receive. Would you not be offended if they asked you that? Let me know your thoughts.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Morning, Clement. On the issue of war in Iran and Palestine regarding Israel, as a Christian, Ndatemuruti, I'm not too sure that I had a problem with that. But until when I saw what happened in Gaza and the glee, and then people celebrating their sentences, though it's like a World Cup. I was rather convicted. I'm never referring to the God of Israel again. Ndatemuruti, Pretoria.
Good morning, Clement. Well, I'm a Muslim and I don't look at the war in Iran as a religious war, to be honest, because I'm old enough to remember the propaganda from the war in Iraq and the lies that were told there. I mean, the famous story of the Kuwait ambassador's daughter that spoke of Iraqi soldiers that were killing babies in hospitals that turned out to be absolutely rubbish. And if they think this is a religious war, that's just propaganda, because we all know it's just about oil and power.
Hi, Clement. I think historically, if you can look at history, religion has always been the basis of all. Everybody claims to know what God, is intended. Everybody claims they know God, right? And I now understand why people are now atheists, because what kind of God wants children and women to starve? What kind of God wants wars, in the world? What kind of God allows such? It's things like this that make you question, religion as a whole, because people tend to use it for their own personal, gains, and then claim that God said we are a better people than other people. Then why did God create everybody if the Jews are better than every other person?
Look, for me, what surprised me the most from all the not just justifications, but the or different opinions I had from different pastors. The part I played, the clip I played of Pastor Chris. I mean, that's quite an influential pastor. He's got millions of followers, people who go to his church around the world. He says God told his children to start wars in the First Testament. He's like, go to the first, you'll see the wars that happened because that was the will of God. And sometimes those were instructed by God. But the very same pastor has often come out to talk about how the New Testament is the very basis, the very center, nucleus of their religion, of their belief system, because you are believing in Christ, believe Christ has died for your sins. You believe that we don't have to go back to the days in the Old Testament of people stoning people for various transgressions. We don't have to go to the Old Testament ways of genocides taking place in the name of God. But you want to use what's currently happening now to try and say, well, God did it in the Old Testament. Who said he won't do it now? What's the point of Christ? What is the point of the same Christ you've been telling us about? And how that has completely changed the game. If you so believe that you still have a God that can still operate in the manner that they or he or she operated in the Old Testament. And I'm saying there are people who listen to these religious leaders and they get confused because they're thinking, how? But I thought Christ has erased all of that. I thought Christ is the one who paid the price. So must there still be wars where innocent lives are going to be taken? Well, Pastor Chris was telling the congregation there's always a reason for war. God tells people to start the wars because there's a reason for it. So what do you do when you're listening to that? Do you just say, my pastor knows better? I'm just going to take that, what they say? Or do you ask yourself critical questions? Go do your own research and make up your own mind. What do you do? It's 13 minutes before 10.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Wendy, you're calling us from Benoni. What do you want to say about explaining wealth? Good morning.
Hi, Mari Major.
Hey, Tara.
Really, there's no need, man. You know what? My forefathers gave me, we call it Degesel to fly every night. Then I must come and explain that my wealth comes from Degesel or whatever my forefather gave it to me. No, nah, Mari Major.
Wendy.
It's our tradition. We can't.
What is your tradition?
Once I explain myself and people know where did I get it.
Get
then
what?
I'm going to be against my wealth.
Oh, wealth.
My wealth.
Okay.
Yeah. Then they're going to be against me because it's between me and my forefathers.
But I get your wealth. Where does your wealth come from? Isn't it coming from your income, from your business, your profits? Is it coming from?
No.
Where does it come from?
From my forefathers. Yeah.
From your forefathers?
Yes.
What? It was inherited or spiritually they somehow...
Spiritually. My son, go and get this. And then from there, everything will get what you want. And I got there. I never rob anybody. You understand?
Hi, Wendy, you must advise us then, because I want my forefathers to also give me wealth.
Yeah,
what do I do?
I don't have to explain. Yeah.
So, Kiraro, do me a favor. Can you at least explain to me what can I do? Because I would like my ancestors to give me lots of money. What can I do?
No,
do I just ask them?
Your ancestors is not the same as mine. You understand?
Okay.
That's the difference. That's the difference.
Oh, okay. So the difference would be what? Maybe yours.
You cannot. Yes, sorry.
Yours, maybe what they when by the time they passed away, they had a lot of money, or maybe mine didn't, or how? What's the difference?
No, they never have a lot of money. It's not something it's been inherited because we've been poor all along. But when they go, when they're gone, they come back spiritually. My son, I don't want to be the same as me. And then at the end of the day, you need to do this and help your brothers and your sisters. And then I've done that. And then from there, everything just come up.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yes, that is how, traditionally. So you don't have to work hard.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Wendy. I wish I had your ancestors. I don't have to work hard. Okay. But hey, Wendy, if it works for you, my friend, kudos. Thank you for your call, brother. George, you are in Hartbeespoort Sport. Good morning.
Morning.
Sure, what do you want to say?
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank
I
you,
want
sir,
to
for
say
calling.
we must be realistic in the terms of human development and human values, etc., that we have today. We used to be communal. We used to interact. We used to share certain things, thereby sharing discussions, etc. Today, it is very, very dangerous to question something and ask someone because we don't know who that person is. Most of the cases, it might be the person who is working with the person that you're asking for. Then you may be in trouble. But let's not even, and this leads to somewhere again, Madimecha, whereby we need to see our social life or the values in our social, in our society. After apartheid, we should have taken time to put a lot of programs into place, like your moral enhancement kind of thing. We have lost what we used to be. In the past, people would see something and will report it to someone. There were also those structures that were meant to accept and look into things. Your Madlanga Commission tells you now, you go and try to report to someone, you might be dead. Or the other point that is that the Minister of Justice has just now put that thing of the whistleblowers. They died because they couldn't even question or say to someone. Someone might have overheard it and told the people that are working with that. So it becomes too dangerous basically to do this thing.
George, in Hartbeespoort Sport. Thank you for your call.
Hi, Clement. Hi, 702 listeners. Luvuyo from Rudiport. Pocket watching, it's for me, I don't see it as an issue. I mean, to just ask, what if I also want to understand or know how you got to be getting private tickets on a private jet to another country? I might be also interested in getting to that country on a private jet just for the experience. So it's very important. We don't want to, for me, I don't think the thing of mind your own business, how a person or how they make it. Nah, ask questions. These are very important questions that you should be asking. Next thing, people are killing people for money, and here you are sitting, just watching. You could be next.
Morning, Clement and team. Clement, I think it's good to ask. It's good to ask because sometimes even you as a friend might find yourself in trouble of something that you don't know about. I remember there was a friend of mine who was arrested just because he was a passenger in his friend's stolen vehicle. So when Tracker and the police recovered that vehicle, they arrested everyone. And you know how it goes. The matter will be discussed in court. You cannot just tell them that you are innocent on the spot. So, to avoid such issues, it's always good to ask. Because now you'll end up in trouble, even yourself, for something that you don't know.
Hi, Clement, and 702 listeners. Just talking about wealth. Atsiba Clement, there is wealth that is difficult to explain because nowadays we call it uktwala. There are people abatweleyo. That's what that guy Andy is trying to explain about ancestors. Uktwala is about going to your ancestors and asking them to give you what's yours with a certain sacrifice that you do. And then that sacrifice, it's what you use in terms of enriching yourself.
Yeah.
So when then you see me being rich, asking, how are you getting rich? And there was some how you look at me. It's Max here, Honeydew.
Max, what do you sacrifice, sir? Like what? Is it a sheep? Like, do you sacrifice a cow? People? Are you serious? What the hell? Like, that's murder. What? Yeah, maybe we shouldn't ask people, because if someone says that to you, what do you even say in response? When they tell you I've sacrificed the whole human being so that I don't have to work hard. I can just enjoy and be rich. Yo.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Let's hear from Al, owner of Johnson's Cable, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
I thought it was going to be difficult to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
For electrical, tradesman services, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. Some returns are worth the wait. Your favorite band, that binge-worthy series. And now, the return of Motor Select's Demo Deal Dash. From this Thursday, 16 April to Saturday, 18 April, get up to 100,000 Rand trade-in assist on any demo model. Hurry to motorselect.co.za or any participating Motor Select dealership nationwide. 3 days, one big return. T's and C's apply.
Get a free optical frame when you get tested at Specsavers this April. Purchase a comprehensive eye examination and get your optical frame free up to the value of 1,000 Rand. Choose your free frame from our wide range of trendy, affordable styles. Get tested today at your nearest Specsavers or book online. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Sometimes all it takes to reshape the world and deliver better outcomes is a little unconventional thinking. Black Sheep Thinking, powered by Camissa Asset Management.
Today's story goes back to World War II, where analysts examined returning bombers covered in bullet holes. The instinct was to reinforce the areas most visibly damaged. But there was one statistician, Abram Wald, who realized that they were studying the planes that survived. The real vulnerability was where there were no bullet holes, because the planes hit in those areas are the planes that never made it back. And so it began a change for how aviation would be applied. Armor was added to engines and cockpits instead, and the aircraft survivability increased significantly, and it became a foundational example of statistical thinking and black sheep thinking.
Black Sheep Thinking, every Tuesday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, powered by Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP on 702.
Clement is on X
at The Real Clement M.
It's going up to 10 o'clock after the news. We're going to do our hanging out feature, and today we are hanging out with the king of fashion, David Tlale. It's 10 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Gukompo Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape is delivering a sentence for convicted EFF leader Julius Malema. The Member of Parliament was found guilty of violating gun laws after he fired a rifle at the party's rally 8 years ago. The state has asked the court to set a strong example with Malema with a recommended prison sentence of at least 15 years. Delivering the sentence this morning, Magistrate Tanwet Oliver has highlighted the testimony of social worker in private practice Jessie Ann Thompson, who testified for the defense during pre-sentencing proceedings.
Ms. Thompson proposed that a monetary fine as a sentence option should be applicable and describes the fine as a sentence option which will reflect the gravity of the offence. Further suggestions by Ms. Thompson were to restrict the accused person from obtaining a firearm license for a specified period.
Meanwhile, the EFF has vowed its supporters will not cause any chaos should today's sentence not favour their leader. Malema's legal team is also on standby to petition the High Court in Makhanda for an appeal. Scores of EFF supporters are following proceedings outside court, and Nhlanhla Mabaso is there and joins us now live. Nhlanhla, do we understand that there's actually a heavy police presence outside court?
Certainly, so most of these officers come from Gauteng's Public Order Unit, which deals with protests and crowd control. Party National Spokesperson Nawatambo has assured that supporters will not cause any chaos.
We're not a violent political party unless violence is brought upon us. So we are going to approach the recourse that is available to us through the courts. But if we are provoked, we will respond accordingly.
Yesterday, Malema also urged EFF members to remain disciplined, and that is indeed what we've seen for the past 2 days. So the members are now viewing proceeding outside court on a big screen. So Eyewitness News, I'm reporting live from Kukombo City in Eastern Cape.
The Matlanga Commission has postponed the testimony of Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim to the 29th of April. Karim was due to testify today. However, he has been hospitalized. Earlier this week, Karim suffered an undisclosed medical emergency while working out at a gym in Sandton. The evidence leader, Matlape Sello, says the Commission's chief evidence leader, Matthew Chaskelson, has been in contact with the businessman's legal team. The Commission chairperson, Buisele Matlanga, granted the postponement today. Shamila Batoyi has defended the NPA's reliance on inquests rather than prosecuting perpetrators of apartheid-era crimes during her nearly 10-year tenure as public prosecutions boss. Batoyi yesterday told the TRC Cases Inquiry, probing delays in prosecuting the cases from the TRC Commission, that when she took office, there were almost 140 outstanding cases, prompting the development of a plan and operational model to address the backlog. Parts of the strategy included pursuing inquests, even though she considered that many of these matters may never result in criminal prosecutions. During her time in office, 10 inquests linked to apartheid-era crimes were constituted. Batoyi has come under scrutiny for pursuing only 6 cases, with just 2 resulting in convictions.
We can only prosecute when the evidence meets the standard required for enrollment. If we don't have that, no matter how much we want justice and prosecutions, we cannot prosecute. And that is the reality of where we are in this period. And I'm not holding my breath that there will be many prosecutions even into the future.
Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen is claiming an early success in the vaccination against foot and mouth disease, with no new outbreaks reported among already vaccinated animals. Steenhuisen says this is an indication that the vaccination strategy is starting to work, with more than 2 million animals inoculated so far. But there's still a long way to go to prevent new outbreaks, with cases reported across all provinces over the past week. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Minister John Steenhuisen says the increased number of cases reported is owing to improved government capacity and strengthened surveillance to allow for earlier detection and faster data capture. So far, 4 million doses of vaccine have been imported from Argentina and Turkey, and Steenhuisen's spokesperson Joylene van Wyk says more are on the way.
The process to import has begun, and 3.5 million doses of the ordered 5 million doses is expected to arrive before end of April.
Public comments on government's vaccination strategy will be allowed until tomorrow, with the final scheme due for publication next week, in line with the court order. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,829.74 an ounce. The rand is at 16.33 to the dollar, 22.17 to the pound, 19.29 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $95.01 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N12 West. This is heading towards Bedford View between Edenville Road and the Kiluli's interchange. There's also queuing traffic reported on the M1 South. That's just as you come out of the Baklu interchange towards the Marlborough Drive exit. Speaking of the Baklu interchange, we do have an accident right at that turnoff. It's along the N1 South coming out of the Midrand area. Please be on the lookout there.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers expected later. The temperatures will peak at highs between 22 and 25 degrees. The developing story in EWN this hour. The Gugompo Magistrates Court in Eastern Cape is delivering a sentence for convicted EFF leader Julius Malema in his violating of gun laws case.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 10 o'clock, Dumelang. Welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. And thank you, as always, for your wonderful contributions on the 702 open line. We're still watching very closely what's happening in Gugompo Magistrates Court in East London. Magistrate Twanet Olivier continues to deliver sentencing in that matter of Julius Malema. She's been found guilty of 5 charges in October last year. The question now is, what is he going to be sentenced to? And how is that going to affect his political career, if at all? So what we're going to do at 11 o'clock on our Thursday dialogue is take you live to East London. If the magistrate will still be delivering judgment at the time, we'll listen to it until she is done, and then we'll get you some reaction. So we have reserved that hour just to bring you up to speed with what the magistrate has said, but also bring about reaction for you. But first, we start with the Hanging Out feature.
Hanging Out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
And on our Hanging Out feature today, we've got the renowned award-winning fashion designer, David Tlale. And what a fascinating, interesting story he has, right? From Fall Slow to stages like New York and Paris Fashion Week. I mean, he's really built a world-renowned brand that's rooted in African storytelling, heritage, bold creativity, and he's been in the game for so long. I said to Bongani this morning, because Bongani wants me to always give him clues on who's coming on the Hanging Out feature, and I just said, well, he's the king of South African fashion, and Bongani just quickly said, well, this can only be one. It's like, we've got amazing designers in this, but there can only be one king of fashion. So David Tlale, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
I said to you when you walked in, you smell good.
Thank
you. Always smell good, and you always dress so well in black.
I think it's uniform. You know, when you go to school,
yeah,
you have to wear black and white. So my uniform is black every day.
I mean,
and it makes life easy.
How long have you been wearing like just black now?
Over 14, 15 years now.
Goodness.
Yeah, I don't even feel it's black. It's just that color that I wear every day.
So when you're on the beach,
it's black.
Your Speedo is black?
It's black. It will be black.
What?
Yes.
Not yellow, some...
No. It will be black. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that? Like, did you wake up one day and you thought, I want to be different. Let's go for this.
It wasn't even a conscious decision. It was a natural progression into it.
Yeah.
So, because I used to wear every color.
Yeah.
If color blocking was a person, was going to
it
be
was
me,
you
then. and slowly gravitated towards African print with white shirts,
Yeah.
and that was kind of like a uniform.
Yeah.
And then from there it was African print pants with black shirt,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went back to a white shirt, and then I was like, it's not working. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because of the kind of work that I do, and I'm hands-on in the office, I get so dirty, and when I finish work, before I go see customers at the shop or anywhere else, I have to go home and change, or even in the office,
Yeah.
I need to find another shirt. I was like, let's just try just black.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, I was in it.
And 14 years later.
14 years later.
Well, I'm really impressed how you're able to
even
still
now,
be so
like when we make collections in the studio,
Yeah.
like, and then I try something. They're like, "Oh, that looks so great on you. Don't you want to?" I'm like,
If
"It's
only it was
fantastic.
black."
If just only you can make it in black. It's
Yeah,
great.
Then
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. So I want us to start by just reflecting on, like, what do you think when you look back to the last 20 years, or the period since you started the David Tlale brand? Because I mean, there's always been a time when I remember, anybody who wanted to look good but wanted to arrive in style, and you wanted to like arrive confidently, you must be in a David Tlale piece. That's something you have built. Like when you look back, like what do you think about? Like, do you see that as this is just God? Do you look at it and think, wow, it's been the support, it's the hard work? It must overwhelm you sometimes because you've built something so strong and so rooted.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful journey, and it helps with my spiritual life. The other day the bishop was, because I fellowship at Grace Bible Church, the bishop was talking about taking time out to reflect and see how far God has brought you.
Yes,
and I did that. Take stock, like you said. Born in Vosloorus, never knew that I'll be sitting here with you one day. And it's like, it helps to have faith, because I don't think without faith I'll be here. And that gravitated towards transition from internal auditing to fashion.
Yes.
And with the fear of the unknown, and you're just diving into this industry that in South Africa at that particular moment, it was happening. I mean, we had great brands like Bo Sister Bugs, Sonwabile Ndamase, Bo Nandi Pamatikiza, Gerrit van der Merwe, and all. And but fashion was not as big as it is right now. I'm talking 1994. I mean, during that time there was still like Stone Sherry, Sun Goddess, and I didn't know that I'm going to build something bigger than what I ever thought. So it's a beautiful reflection and moment of saying, I'm grateful of my decision. I remember when I was sitting in this auditing class, like, this is my last day in this class.
I can't do this anymore.
I can't do this anymore. And I was like, I bless that day, because everything else that we have achieved as a brand or as David Tlale stems from that decision, and taking that leap of faith to saying, I'm going to do this against all odds, against my mom's will, against my family and church members and community. Like, we lo roka.
Oh, roka. It's gonna make you money.
Absolutely.
Like,
so, and I had to be very stern with my decision and to stand firm to say, this is what I'm going to do, and amplifies with faith, because I know that I was talented, but coupled with education, it really helped me quite a lot.
So I'm glad that your bishop said that. I love your bishop, by the way. I've had him on this
I
on
know.
the show, and I love that, because I think we are always quick to run to God when we need stuff.
Yeah.
But when we have been blessed with the things we've prayed about, we seldom go back and say, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
God, today I had David Tlale on the show. Whoever thought I would sit across him? Because we make light of such moments. And I think it's important to just reflect.
Yeah.
Go back and say, oh my goodness, 10 years ago, I wanted to one day be on a flight.
Absolutely.
Overseas. And now you've been to 4 countries.
4 countries
or whatever.
in 1 year. Yeah. You know?
Like, you need to celebrate stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But have you always had interest in fashion, though? Because when I look at your story, like, yes, you wanted to do auditing, and then suddenly you start asking around, and then you end up in a fashion class. And you were the best student, I think, for how many years? For 3 years, 4 years?
3 years.
So that means there's always, the talent was there. It just
Yeah.
had not been unearthed yet. So growing up, were you like a fashionable child? Did you dress up your mom, your dad?
I don't think it was fashion. It was a creative. There was a creative bug in me. How I put myself together. If you may remember my early days, I used to have a big afro, and I've always gravitated towards working with my hands. I worked at the hair salon. I learned how to do flower arrangements. I learned how to bake and do birthday cakes and ice them and stuff like that. So the creative
have you
bug
not
has
done?
always so much I have not done. I'm not tried to be a scientist. I've not tried. There's so many things I have not done. So in the creative space, I kind of like dabbled with it. And then I think also the being part of the church movement, because I grew up in Apostolic Faith Mission in Vosloorus. So I was like in the Sunday school and I was in the choir. So being a PV, I'm a PV. I was a PV then.
Okay.
So and I love music. I've always had, and I was a conductor as well at some point. So there's always that flair of creativity along the journey.
Wow, David.
But I will not release an album, don't worry.
No, you can collaborate with me. That will maybe enhance your
sing?
chances. I'll sing along with you. What do you think are like career highlights for you? So, I mean, we've known you, we know your work, and there's no question about that. But I think for me, it's moment when you get reminded of how great people are. And I remember one time I was in Paris, and we were having dinner, and someone in the dinner mentioned you, and I thought, oh my goodness, like this is so fascinating. And I thought, and they mentioned two people, in fact, from South Africa.
Yeah.
And I've told the minister there's Pakstau, and then they mentioned you basically as the best things this country has ever produced.
Oh wow!
And I was like, this is so cool to be so far away from home and to be hearing people say that about you. So when you look back, though, what would you say are the highlights? Because you have done like wild things that are like, this is like a dream kind of a thing. So what do you look at and say, that one was special, and why was that the special one?
Sure. There's so many moments. I think the first was in 1995 when I won the Best Student in Fashion. I was like, wow, okay, this is amazing. I was the first in my family to win a prize of that stature.
Was that your first award ever?
First award ever in my life, and then it continued for 3 years. I'm like, I love this journey. And then 2003, when I won the El New Talent at South African Fashion Week, was like the biggest launch of David Tlale. And then 2007. Go to be introduced by African Fashion International with Dr. Precious Mloyi-Motsepe to showcase around Paris Fashion Week. That was the very first idea of what international stage looks like. Come 2009, won Designer of the Year in the continent. That afforded me an opportunity to showcase at New York Fashion Week, and then posted Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. I was like, oh, actually, I do want this. And
you're the first South African designer, right?
Well, in 2012, that's when I got accepted as a solo designer, because in 2009, we were a group of designers from Africa. So at that moment, I was like, I want to be on my own. And then I started applying, and then the Consulate General, George, then in 2010, 11, and then he advocated for me, helped me to be accepted at New York Fashion Week. And I do know that, yes, we have so many issues in our country right now, but our government systems, there are things that actually do work. And I see it when I travel overseas every time, whether I go to New York or London or Paris or even Brazil, you'd get to meet the CG or even the ambassador at that particular moment, and they tell you about opportunities that are there at hand and how they can actually enable us as a creative sector. And I've been very blessed to be able to reach out to them, and they've been assisting me quite a lot. So my first breakthrough in New York Fashion Week as a first African designer to showcase solo was made possible by Consulate General in 2012. And then the journey just continued. But still in 2012, one of my best highlights was launching The Intern by David Tlale, because after building a brand and being the first to showcase an international stage, you want to pass on the information or even the experience to younger designers, and that has been really, really amazing. Fast forward 2015, we still did The Intern by David Tlale, and it was on TV and as a when. Yeah, 2015, 17, somewhere there. And it was made possible by the FPNM CETA, the fiber processing and manufacturing. And we've seen how government entities, some of them that are working, enables us to actually achieve more.
Yeah.
And another highlight was in 2017-18, did my first presentation during Paris Fashion Week solo, and which was really, really amazing because there's a difference. People say when you go to Paris or New York, you just get to showcase. There is something we call a calendar. It takes a lot to be accepted in a calendar. Like the likes of Maxhosa right now, he's been on calendar for the past 3 years without stopping. And that takes a lot of creativity, but beyond that, takes a lot of investment. Same applies with us at New York Fashion Week. We're not just showcasing around Fashion Week. We were on calendar at New York Fashion Week. And there's a lot of learning that you actually do gain in these international platforms.
I remember for when you launched the David Tlale, the internship.
Yeah.
There's a guy I worked with, I forgot his name, but I worked with him at Urban in Pretoria at Woodlands Mall, I think.
Wow.
I used to work there as like if I don't know, they used to call us, I think, fashion assistants because we helped people decide how to pair the clothes. So we were not just selling clothes. Like we were like stylists. So one day I saw on TV, this guy was with you. I was so proud of him.
Oh, yeah?
I'll try to remember his name. I'll tell you his name. But he came through the internship.
Through the intern.
It was so because he loved, I mean, he really loved fashion.
Is he from Pretoria?
Yes, he is from Pretoria.
Dando? No?
I'll remember.
Yeah,
I'll remember
okay,
and then I'll tell you who he is. So when you mention it, I'm like, I have seen the result through someone I've worked with at Urban who's always wanted to get into fashion. So clearly God has been good to you, and I'm glad one of your favorite songs is
Still is.
Umuhle Baba, and still is.
Yes.
Umuhle Baba by Xoli. I love Xoli so much.
I love her so much.
Why is this song so special to you? Why does it touch you at your core?
So this song, when she recorded it, I was going through a lot. And it was just us, literally coming out of the pandemic, COVID. And she came. First of all, she's like, I'm recording. I'd like to start working with you. I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. And the beautiful part was like, she didn't say, just dress me. She's like, I'd like to support you in what you do. And it's very beautiful to see our celebrities or even artists, they say, I want to pay for these things, not just like hand out.
Yeah.
And that's what even helped me to like even love her even further. But beyond that business aspect of it, when she released this song, it made me remember the goodness of God in my life on a daily basis. Because there's a part that says, Oshintsha okujwayelekile akwenze kube kusha or kube kuhle. Like what we are used to on a daily basis, God is able to change it. And we look at our past as a country, as a black nation, where we come from and how we were raised and what God has been able to do with us. Look at me and you today. We are sitting in this studio. 30 years ago, we didn't have this opportunity.
Absolutely.
And those are some of the things that it doesn't have to be mind-blowing. It's the simple things in life. And that I'm able to have a studio in Marshalltown and employ X number of people. I'm able to have a store in Melrose Arch and employ X amount of people and do all these beautiful things. And that's where you see the goodness of God. And it doesn't have to be like, I was saved from an accident. No, it's a little thing. Just understanding the gift of life every morning. You realize like, God is amazing.
Be grateful for that.
We
wait for the big job.
No.
Big graduation. But
Absolutely.
It's the small things. Well, here's Xoli.
Zinkanyezi na Hi, Clement. Ooh, Clement and team, you have my favorite there, David Tlale. Yo, David, I still have a photo I took with David when we had a promotion in Sandton and he designed our bags. You'll know which company I'm talking about. And, I was seeing his face, but you know what? This is such a loving, darling man. Well, he's always late.
Is he always
but
late?
I
Me.
so love him. His clothes. Oh, guys, I bought a top from David Tlale, a white one. I've got a white shirt that I bought from him. Like, I don't even know what to say, Clement. I just love him. David, if you can remember me, I was seeing your face. It's Edgar Santon. But we had to go to Stadiford at that time to continue doing your face there. Because, you are David Tlale. Yo, drama, ya thank you. But I love you. Thanks, David. Bye.
Hi, Gabi, but how many people have you had do your face?
I don't know. My God, I've heard since not day one,
Yeah.
but I think since 2008 when I
Yeah.
started doing Fashion Week, and I did, no, not even 2003 after I won the El New Talent. When I started doing interviews,
Yeah.
that's how long
That's
it
a
has
lot
been.
of people.
Lots of
That's a lot of
hands.
people. Here's another one.
Very good morning to you, Clement, and Mr. Tlale, and 702 listeners at large. Casey from the South. I have one question for Mr. Tlale, right? As he is something of a traveler, I just want to find out from him what is the biggest misconception about Africa in terms of fashion when you travel to like Europe, America, Asia, wherever. What's the biggest conception, in terms of fashion? Thanks, man. Cheers.
Oh, thank you. David?
Sure. The biggest misconception about Africa is that we live in the jungle, and it's a particular continent that always think that Africa is a continent, and then people come here, they get blown away how beautiful life is in South Africa, and I'm a pure patriot of what South Africa has to offer, and I thank God and bless God that I've been able to travel most parts of the world, not all, and I come back home and I realize how beautiful this country is. We just need to make sure that we keep it together, we keep it clean, and make it work for us and our children and our children's children, because the food that we have here is amazing. You've been to Paris, and you've been in a tiny little room. It's called a hotel room, and it's not even half of your bedroom currently, and you pay exorbitant amount of money, and also besides that, as much as it has changed slowly, the one thing that has brought South Africans together is Ubuntu, and the humanity and the love, the kindness that we have as South Africans. People in the world, they die for such. When I used to have a showroom in New York, there's no people that I've seen in life as angry and bitter as Americans, because greeting someone is like, why are you greeting me? Why are you smiling? Why are you so happy? Because everything about them is about work, having 3 jobs, trying to make it. And when you see them, you're not going to see them at home. You see them in the restaurant all the time. But we as South African, immediately we meet you in a restaurant or anywhere we go, we are very easy to like, come home for a braai or come home for a dinner or for a lunch or anything else. But we are very welcoming and very warm people. And that's one thing that we must never lose. Also because of social media and also because of traveling the world. We must always keep Ubuntu because it has brought us this far as a country.
That's it. That's our selling point.
Yeah.
Our currency. It's 10:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation as we continue to hang out with David Tlale. More of your calls and WhatsApps after the headlines. Fiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Magistrate Tanwet Olivier in the Gukompo Magistrates Court in East London has gone through principles of sentencing in the Julius Malema gun violence case. She's highlighted points and evidence raised by both the state and the defense during the trial. Malema was found guilty of violating gun laws after he fired a rifle at an EFF rally 8 years ago. The state has asked the court to set a strong example with Malema with a recommended prison sentence of at least 15 years. The Gukompo Magistrates Court has now taken a short break before delivering judgment, and Malema's legal team says it's on standby to petition the Makhanda High Court for an appeal. The Madlanga Commission has postponed the testimony of Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim to the 29th of April. Karim was due to testify today. However, he's currently in hospital. Earlier this week, Karim suffered an undisclosed medical emergency while exercising at a Sandton gym. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling on the N12 West, we still have got delays. This is between the Edenville Road exit and the Kilulis interchange. That's due to the roadworks that are taking place along this route. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. There's more roadworks taking place along the N3 South approaching Linksfield Road. Delays there as well. And travelling in the city of Tshwane, queuing traffic along the R80 East Mabopane Highway just as you approach Eskiampahlele Drive. We'll have more traffic updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Elon Musk, this sudden need to develop the rural areas and the poor people of South Africa by the entrance of Starlink to South Africa. But you've got to ask yourself that if this country is such a genocidal, racist, evil country, why would you want to do business with those people? If the entrance of Starlink is going to improve the lives of the poor people in the rural areas, why isn't it not doing the same thing in Zimbabwe or Lesotho? We're not seeing too much development happening there.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Celestial Bodies returns to the stage after last year's successful run. It's a collaboration between Universe on Stage and Joburg Ballet. Celestial Bodies is a fusion of narration, music, science, and ballet. It's a unique performance that tells the story of our connection to the stars and to the universe. Universe on Stage is reshaping live entertainment, merging science, music, and storytelling that connects audiences to the wonders of the cosmos. There are 3 performances of Celestial Bodies at the UJ Theatre this weekend, 2 on Saturday in the afternoon and the evening, and 1 on Sunday. For more details and to book your tickets, go to Quicket and search for Celestial Bodies.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on iStratGo.com. iStratgo.com.
Some moments are personal. Some spaces are professional. All of them deserve care. At Frond and Filigree, we create handcrafted floral experiences for life's meaningful moments and the places where they happen. From birthdays and anniversaries to hotels, offices, and events, our bespoke arrangements are designed with artistry and intention. Because when flowers are done right, they elevate every moment. Visit frondandfiligree.co.za.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now. Save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
We said, let's talk shop. And small business owners answered, from the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. Now, 702 and MTN Business want to share their stories with you. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Listen to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and the Afternoon Drive with John Perlman all week to meet the businesses doing big things. Hear what it really takes to build something from the ground up. And if you're listening thinking, that sounds like my business, go to primemediaplus.com now to enter or nominate a small business you know, because the next business we talk about could be yours. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're hanging out with the king of fashion, David Tlale. Do you own a David Tlale? A lot of people are sending me messages that, I have a David Tlale bag. Mm-hmm. I need to get a David Tlale bag, a David Tlale shirt myself. So give us a call on 011-883-0702. You can send a WhatsApp as well on 072-702-1702. Let's start with your calls. Azania is calling from Johannesburg. Azania, good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Is that the Azania?
The one and only.
The one and only. How are you doing?
I'm super. Great show, great chat.
Thank
but
you.
I just wanted to give my flowers to one of my favorite South Africans. David is a creative powerhouse. I mean, I've known his career, watched his career. We all came up around the same time, in the early 90s. And when this creative industry, from kwaito to music to what you hear on radio, the YFMs, the Metros, all of this was just changing in the country. And David and a handful of other designers were also giving shape to the fashion sector, And over the years, David has just continued to outdo himself creatively. I remember you used to do fashion weeks, and then you took your fashion showcases off the ramp, out of the auditoriums, and into an installation in the middle of town. Yeah. And that was unforgettable. Yeah. And then the following year, you went one bigger. And you did your fashion week on Nelson Mandela Bridge.
Yes,
I mean,
I remember that.
It was such a privilege to walk that runway.
She was one of the models.
Yeah.
Historic bridge.
Remember?
Endless runway. I remember. And you just keep pushing the boundaries. I've often said to David, you need to document the story, because it not only tells your story, but it also tells the evolution, the growth, and the change in the fashion industry, which is a very hard industry. Many brands have come and gone, but the fact that you've built such a formidable business, people don't think about the infrastructure that is behind all of this, the numbers of people that you employ. So you are due a project. You owe us a massive documenting project where you tell the story. But absolutely adore you. Love every single thing I have that is a DT item. It's in my will. My children will inherit all of the David Tlale and other designers in our closets, because we're just so proud of you.
Thank you. Who needs PR when you have Azania?
When you have Azza.
Hey?
Azza, thank you for the call. Great to hear from you. Thank you so much. That's the Azania Mosaka. So, Azania talks about documenting the journey. I mean, you have to. Come on.
We have to. I can't disclose much, but there's a lot of things that we're working on, which is the bigger part of it is where we are right now as a brand. Last year we launched the David Tlale Academy, which focuses mostly on skills development, and we're currently training about 158 young people in our institution. And this is made possible with APSA and the FPNM CETA, and making sure that we are training skillful workers, because with the intern by David Tlale, we have trained professionals, but these professionals need a support of the workers. And last night I was talking at a gala dinner, and I was like, the very important thing is to understand the magnitude of the clothing and textile industry. We're using fashion as one pillar. We have agriculture where we grow our cotton and farm, the wool and the sheepskin, the cowhide and everything else. And then we have to process it into fiber and then into textiles. Then we get into fabric, and then we have the designers, the pattern makers, the cutters, the finishers, and then there's another aspect of sales, which there will be like wholesale and retail, distribution, packaging, logistics, and also within all this entire spectrum, there's technology and mechanics that we need, engineering that needs to happen. I was talking to someone the other day, like, we need to get to a point whereby in South Africa, we start manufacturing our own sewing machine because we do have amazing engineers in this country. And not only that, but fast forward to the clothing and textile industry so that we become competitive with the world. So part of that journey is going to be documented in this wonderful journey that we are on.
Good.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you find, someone who's in the industry and who understands the business of that industry. And I think that's always been fascinating about you, the way you understand just the business of fashion and the entire value chain. How do you think that's benefited you as a brand, as a business? Because, you studied.
Yeah.
But you've also been intentional about being involved in the whole value chain.
Yeah, I think it started out with from high school when I was doing accounting subjects. And the 9 months into internal auditing played a major role. Am I a best businessman? No, I'm not, but I understand a few practices about business. And come the time you graduate from a fashion school, this is what I always say to young people, it's very important. You can be talented, you can be creative, you can be all awesome, but embody and also amplify your talent with education. Because when we got into university, we learned business studies, we learned the history of fashion, we learned the basics of pattern making, garment construction, illustration, and everything else. And by the time you're done, 4 years later, you realize how much you actually know, be over and above the talent. And in our academy, we always say to people, yes, young people are talented, but that needs to be coupled with education and also just completed with being principled. Because many of our young people we just want to be fabulous. That's all we want to just create fabulous clothing. I started there when I won the L New Talent. Like, Mama, I made it. I'm now famous and everything else. But lo and behold, when reality checked in, when I was almost evicted from my house because I couldn't pay my rent. And then my workers was like, we are leaving because you can't pay us. So I had to change the whole business model, because when I was in university, I came up with this business plan that I thought it's going to work. I tried to apply it, but I had no clientele. I had no background. I had nothing. But then I was like, I'm applying the business plan. But 11 years later into it, I realized that I had to build a clientele. Because what we do is art. We had to create the art, create a following, then understand who your client is, understand your target market, understand your price point, understand that when you buy a fabric that costs 800 rands a meter, how much are you going to cost all this, and then become profitable. So there's a lot of learnings, and there's a lot of I'd say stepping stones I've fell into, and like lots of rivers and valleys I've went through. But I look back today, I celebrate the good, the bad, and the ugly. But right now, mostly the beautiful and the rise of David Tlale into the industry. But not only us is into business, but also into imparting knowledge into the industry.
Very good morning to you, Mr. Manyathela and 702 lenders. It's been a minute. DT. What a gentleman. We shared a room together at VUT, and the room would be such a mess, man, with material and strict deadlines, and it will be a Friday, the wedding would be on a Saturday, we'll still be finalizing some attires there. But oh man, what a brilliant cook. He was actually our choir conductor when I was the choir master for both the church and the church at the VUT. Great gentleman indeed. And my brother, we celebrate you. You're one of the best I have seen. Your love for the Lord is undeniable. Your passion for Christ has always stood out for me. Appreciate you. May the Lord continue working in your life and taking you to dizzy heights. You know who I am. Tsepo in Boksburg.
Yeah, he said your name from the minute he heard your voice. Oh, you're a great cook.
Well, I had to learn. I mean, I learned while I was at home before I went to university. Little did I know I had to take care of myself. And as Tsepo mentioned, we used to share a room in Sharpeville because we used to walk from Sharpeville to Vaal University, and we had to make sure that we eat. And
Well, look at you guys now.
Look at us.
Morning, Clem. And David, I admire that guy so much. Trouble here. You know, from humble beginnings, he started at his home in a forum. You know, even then you could see still you could sense that he was one of those who were going to crack it. Very professional. My daughter, you know, my daughter went there for a metric dance dress, which she is still hanging on to, even to this day. Go on, my brother. You are blessed.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning, David Tlale. You are sitting with an absolute legend. I'm so enjoying the show. I love how human he is. What a legend, man. What a legend. David Tlale, we're proud of you. We are proud to associate with you. All the best. Nice show as usual. Thabang, Johannesburg South.
Hey, morning, Marimecha. This is talking more from the Vaal. Yes, man, David Tlale. I remember David Tlale from Valtech back in the days while he's still studying your fashion designer. I don't know, you still remember. Kamo T Block. I was studying computer science there. He used to wear this white outfit, you know, with this big afro. He'll be walking up there. He used to rock. And another thing I want to ask, man, about your shop, the shop that you're supposed to launch it at go Josie next to Gandhi. Next to Gandhi, there was a shop there that they were busy, wanted to launch. I don't know what happened to it. And another thing, Clement, can you confirm? Remember last time DJ Fresh has a interview with him. He said he has the most soft hands he ever touched. You can confirm that. Please confirm for Namore.
Okay, let's confirm that.
Come
over here.
Wow. Thank you, Talmo from the
Really,
Vaal.
Clement?
Come over here, David. Okay. Yeah, they are soft.
They are softer than your hands.
No. My hands are very like.
Don't try.
Yeah. There. Even maybe could be the judge of that. Bongani, you're in Katlehong. Good morning.
Yes, hi Clement and David. This is Bongani Petra here.
Hey Bongani, go ahead.
Hey, I just want to say no more humble note. I remember from when he started from grassroots, David had to deliver obviously for the brides and the bridesmaids at the Mputi family in Togoza.
Wow.
At that time, he had an incident and he had a plaster of Paris as in cement. Can you imagine David running around and it was raining? But all I'm going to say that he delivered so well.
Yeah.
I just want to speak on his work ethic. It speaks volumes. And it's not by default, my brother, you are where you are. Please keep shining, my brother. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Bongani in Katlehong. Thank you so much. Okay, Kelvin Momo. What's up with Wazewa Muhle, the song?
You want the real story or the made-up story?
I want the real one first.
So the real story was, when this song came, I was flirting with this person.
Yeah.
And then I just saw beauty on his... And when the song came out, I was like, wow. But don't ask me details.
Yeah. Okay, then what's the made-up story?
The made-up story is just like, it's a beautiful song.
It ends there.
It ends there. But
did anything happen? Like is the
now
person
you're
still
asking.
around?
Now you're fishing.
I'm a journalist.
I know, but I mean, the song is amazing. It still invokes that beautiful memory that I had.
As long as it's a beautiful memory.
It's still a beautiful memory. Yeah. It will ever be. I
Yeah.
always say to people,
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether I wake up ka left or ka right.
Yeah.
That memory must always be beautiful.
Okay.
Because there is beauty in everything.
Here's Calvin Moma.
Oh, Clement, wow, you have a legend. Wow, 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 they don't come bigger than David. I don't have a personal story. I've never met him. I've just seen him on TV and stuff like that. But yeah, no, his design's great. I remember someone once said to me, "You're a metrosexual." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I didn't understand the term back then. They said, "You're a David Tlale kind of a guy." I was like, I don't even know what that means, but just being associated with him, I was like, yeah, I'll take that anytime. However, the question I wanted to ask Wena Clement is, how is the imports from China, the cheap imports from other countries, affecting his business's bottom line? Yeah, and the rise of shops like your Temu and stuff like that. How is it affecting his business? Thank you, Quincy.
Quincy, thank you so much.
Oh, wow. I'm glad that he asked this question. You know, the rise of these cheap imports in the country is actually killing the industry on a big time like big scale, because we find ourselves having to compete with very cheap made clothes, and people like, I can get a T-shirt for 80 rand. Why must I buy a David Tlale for X amount of money? Question is, yes, it's fine. People may think these clothes are cheap, but you wear it once, it's gone. You have to buy 10 of them to have the same thing. You could have spent that amount of money in buying the real thing that you can always go back to. If there's something wrong, come back to David to say, there's something wrong with my T-shirt or with my shirt. Can you fix it or can you replace it? But beyond anything else, there is I don't think it's moving the country forward or even any economy forward. Because little do people know that every wage or salary we pay goes to feed at least 13 members of the family, from children and even the ecosystem around the people that work with us. And by so doing, by supporting local, you are saying keep going and keep creating jobs locally. But when you support these not really sustainable clothing and everything else, you are fighting the system. You're fighting what we are trying to do. Over the years, we've seen how great companies like House of Monatek, Rex Trueform has actually died because of these cheap imports. People like, I can just go to the plaza and buy a cheap suit. Until when are we going to succumb to that? Because immediately when a factory closes, it means 500 people are going to be without a job. Not only 500, and then 500 families are going to start suffering. So we need to relook at this cheap imports and how we can ration it, and also just make sure that we bring back manufacturing in South Africa, because it's the right thing. We keep complaining about unemployment and poverty, but you are going to have unemployment because factories are closed. People are going to be poor because why? They don't have jobs. So, it's like I said, it's not only the value, it's not only the manufacturing, it starts from agriculture, fiber processing, and factories, and so many things. And this is a topic that is like really burning in my heart right now, to say we need to teach laborers and we need to make sure that we bring back manufacturers in South Africa.
True. Well, David Tlale, thank you so much for coming through. It's been great hanging out with you.
Thank you.
We appreciate what you've done, and we're so proud of you. And this is us saying thank you for your brilliance. May you continue to shine.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. David Tlale on the Hanging Out feature.
EWN Breaking News.
All right, we've got some breaking news. Fiso Zulu is in studio with us. Fiso, what's happening in East London?
Well, Clement, EFF leader Julius Malema has been sentenced to 5 years direct imprisonment for violating firearm laws. The ruling follows his conviction for a discharging of a firearm in public during a 2018 political rally that took place in the Eastern Cape. The court has just handed down judgment just a few minutes ago. Of course, we'll have more on the story in few seconds now in our bulletin.
Yeah, major consequences here. This is direct imprisonment. It's not even suspended. That's going to affect his political career in one way or the other. We'll tell you what it means after the news. It's a minute before 11.
Being in construction has taught me that buying machinery doesn't come cheap. Loaders, excavators, graders, they're the heartbeat of the job site. Now, thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. This saving helps keep my machines working and projects moving.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your yellow metal machinery. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
The Bet Blast is on with Hollywood Bets and Bet Games. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million rand from the 1st to the 30th of April 2026. The fresh, funky games in the Bet Games portfolio will set your pulse racing while offering many chances for big wins. Bet 2 rand or more on slots, 10 rand or more on crash games, and 10 rand or more on live casino games to be in the running to reap rich rewards. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
New from the House of Citroën.
Ah, so stylish.
470-litre boot space. I need it.
Keyless entry, so chic.
Cruise control. Oh, bonjour.
4-year or 60,000 kilometers service plan? Oui.
The stylish, all-new Citroën Passat is here. You want a piece of it. Starting from 354,900 Rand. Register now for limited deal assist of up to 40,000 Rand. Visit citroen.co.za. T's and C's apply.
Too many learners are falling through the cracks, and it's time to fix that. Catch this show live from the National Education Summit 2026 on Monday, the 20th of April at the Gordon Institute of Business Science in Sandton. Be part of the conversation reimagining South Africa's education system as leaders, educators, and policymakers come together to build a stronger future for every learner. Don't miss the Clement Manyathela Show live at the National Education Summit 2026 from 9 a.m. to 12 on 702. This Eyewitness News Now is brought to you by Momentum. Financial advisors help you have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor. Momentum is part of the Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We start with breaking news. EFF leader Julius Malema has been sentenced to 5 years direct imprisonment for violating firearm laws. The ruling follows his conviction for discharging a firearm in public during a 2018 EFF rally in the Eastern Cape. Magistrate Tinwat Olivier delivered judgment in the East London Magistrates Court in Gukompo just a short while ago.
Great. You may please stand up. Not the court only. Sorry. Maybe I should be clear. Okay. Sorry for that. All right. After careful consideration, and I can show you I have done so, free of any interference, this judgment or sentence is the sentence of this court and this court alone. In respect of count 1, you are sentenced to a period of 5 years imprisonment. In respect of count 2, you are sentenced to a period of 2 years imprisonment. In respect of count 3, you are sentenced to 20,000 Rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In respect of count 4, you are sentenced to 20,000 Rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In respect of count 5, you are sentenced to pay a fine of 20,000 Rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In terms of Section 280, subsection 2 of Act 51 of 1977, the court orders that the sentence imposed in respect of counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 run concurrent with the sentence imposed in respect of count 1.
The Madlaga Commission has postponed the testimony of Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim to the 29th of April. Karim was due to testify today, but he is currently in hospital. Earlier this week, Karim suffered an undisclosed medical emergency while exercising at a gym in Sandton. Evidence leader at the Madlaga Commission, Matlapi Sello, says the Commission's chief evidence leader, Matthew Chaskelson, has been in contact with Karim's legal team.
Mr. Chaskelson advised that Mr. Karim is still in hospital. Mr. Chaskelson, has been in communication with Mr. Karim's legal representatives. And as things stand, Mr. Chaskelson wants to stand him down to the 29th of April this year.
Gold is trading at $4,829.74 an ounce. The rand is at 16.33 to the dollar, 22.17 to the pound, 19.29 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $95.01 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Midrand, we've got an accident reported on the N1 South. It's right after New Road. It's causing delays already. Please be on the lookout there. And then traveling along the N12 West, queuing traffic towards the Kilulis interchange. Please be on the lookout.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 22 and 25 degrees. The breaking story in EWN this hour, EFF leader Julius Malema has been sentenced to 5 years direct imprisonment for violating firearm laws.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Okay, breaking news. Julius Malema has been sentenced to an effective 5 years in prison. So remember, he was found guilty of 5 charges. So let's break them down quickly. Count 1, he is sentenced to direct imprisonment of 5 years. It is not suspended. Count 2, 2 years direct imprisonment. It is not suspended. What this means is they will run concurrently. So it doesn't matter that it's count 1, 5 years, count 2, 2 years. The point is he's going to serve 5 years imprisonment because they will run concurrently. Now, count 3, he's sentenced to 20,000 rand fine or 6 months imprisonment. Count 4, it's 20,000 rand fine or 6 months imprisonment. And similarly so with count 5, 20,000 rand fine or 6 months imprisonment. Now, it gets really tricky now because, of course, a lot of you are probably thinking, what does Section 47 of the Constitution say? And how does it affect Julius right now? Because it stipulates that anyone convicted of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without the option of a fine is disqualified from being a member of the National Assembly. So, as we speak, if Julius Malema wasn't appealing this judgment, as we speak right now, he would be disqualified from being a member of Parliament, as far as Section 47 of the Constitution says, because count 1 and count 2, he is sentenced to direct imprisonment without an option of a fine. But here's what's also important. This disqualification from being a member of Parliament remains in effect for 5 years after the sentence is completed. So 5 years after the sentence is completed, that's how long the disqualification stays. But as you know, Julius Malema is definitely appealing this conviction and sentence. And until that's done, then Section 47 is suspended. So he will continue to be a member of Parliament until such time that we hear the judgment on his appeal. And then we can take it from there, where Section 47 then comes into play. What are your thoughts on this? Are you surprised? Are you sad? What do you think of what this magistrate Twanet Olivier, has just decided now in as far as this judgment and Julius Malema's case is concerned? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Let's bring in Alpha Ramushwana now, who's our reporter with Eyewitness News, who's on the ground in East London. Alpha, thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, what was the reaction like in court? Because we are talking direct imprisonment here for count 1 and count 2.
Good afternoon, Clement. Well, good morning. The EFF members and supporters who are in court really did not seem surprised that the direct prison sentence handed down to their leader, Julius Malema. In fact, there were no gasps or expressions of surprise or shock when that sentence was delivered. They all remained quiet and showed no emotion, just as their leader, Julius Malema, did. But I don't think it came as a surprise to anyone, including Malema himself, Clement, that he's being sentenced to direct imprisonment. I mean, he did mention that he knew about 2 weeks ago when the state filed their final heads of argument that they according to him, are going for the kill. And I mean, his lawyers have now announced that they are heading to the Eastern Cape High Court to appeal this matter. And so it did not come as a surprise to him and his supporters at all. In fact, they prepared for it, Clement.
So I imagine now I see that on my screens here, we see Julius is still there chatting to Tembeka Ngukai-Tobi, one of his legal counsels. What, are they now preparing to launch that appeal in court? Or is it considered launched already? What did they say in court about that?
Well, they've informed the court that they are now formally applying for a leave to appeal, number one, his judgment. And Malema mentioned last year in October that the sole reason that he brought senior counsel Tembeka Ngukai-Tobi is to appeal his conviction. And so Ngukai-Tobi came here knowing that his big goal is to launch an appeal and not necessarily to represent Malema in this magistrate's court, but at the High Court where the appeal is going. He did also say that Ngukai-Tobi will be leading the appeal if it indeed does get to the Constitutional Court. And so that's the next step. It's definitely what they're discussing here, Clement, as we speak.
What have the supporters of the EFF been telling you since you've been there yesterday? Are they worried at all about the possibility of his political career being disrupted by this? Because, as I was saying to the listeners, Section 47 speaks to what happens when you are sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without an option of a fine. And yes, it may not work now because he's appealing and therefore that disqualification is suspended. But if he doesn't win with his appeal, then this sentence stands, which then means he has to leave Parliament. Have they told you how they feel about that?
Well, Clement, court has just resumed. I'm trying to
let's let you go in
as quick as I can, but I am out now, Clement. And really, as you said, the Constitution does say that any member of Parliament who's sentenced to at least 12 months without the option of a fine is disqualified for a period of 5 years. And I had a conversation with a number of EFF leaders, or supporters rather, over the past 2 days, and none of them seemed to know, Clement, what the consequences are. In fact, I had to explain to some of them.
Alpha, just 1 second, Alpha. I think I want to let you go. I'm sorry, but I'm going to cut you there. We'll have you back later. Let me just let you go because this court has resumed, and I mean, Alpha has to be in court to hear what has been decided, if there's anything new. So I'm going to let you go so you can rush back inside court just to hear what's being said now, and we'll bring you back a little later on once they've completely adjourned and we can continue our conversation. What do you think of this judgment coming out of the Kukombo Magistrates Court, where Magistrate Twanet Olivier has just handed her sentence on the Julius Malema matter? He is sentenced to a direct imprisonment of 5 years, but he's appealing that. So it's not like he's going to be in jail tomorrow. He's already started the process of appeal. But at some point, if this judgment is going to stand and he doesn't win with his appeal, then his career is going to be affected in as far as his position in Parliament is concerned. Listen to Magistrate Twanet Olivier delivering that sentencing not so long ago.
In respect of count 1, you are sentenced to a period of 5 years imprisonment. In respect of count 2, you are sentenced to a period of 2 years imprisonment. In respect of count 3, you are sentenced to 20,000 rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In respect of count 4, you are sentenced to 20,000 rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment.
So that's what Magistrate Twanet Olivier says. Let's take you to the Magistrates Court now, because Malema's legal team is now on the stand explaining what their next step is going to be. Take a listen.
The court held that the defense witnesses, including Mr. de Klerk, were defensive and at stages argumentative. This is further borne out by the comparative analysis by the court of the evidence of Mr. de Klerk as compared to Colonel Guadaleka, which was found to fall short and only be noted as mediocre. This biased approach to the testimony of the defense witnesses is further illustrated by the approach adopted towards the accused. The fact that he had stated that Mr. Mavundla should have been charged was utilized to discredit him. Additionally, he was found to have evaded many questions that had warranted a reply, The court held that it became evident that the replies were entertaining, but however the pertinent questions asked remained unanswered. It was further criticized for relying upon the viral footage whereas nobody else was. Having held that the court had to establish whether the version presented by the defense was reasonably possibly true, regard was had to the statement in cross-examination that the firearm had been in Gauteng. In this regard, the court held, and I quote, "Now as to what happened and where it was kept, no explanation was provided. It begs the question, dealing with circumstantial evidence, that what does the firearm being booked out to Mr. Mavundla in effect equate to that specific firearm is booked out to him for whenever it is needed for him or by him. Since clearly it does not mean it needs to be on his body since he left it in Gauteng. In doing so, the court appears to have lost sight of the fact that this statement had been made by the co-accused counsel in cross-examination. There was no basis to attribute it to the accused. These findings by the court indicate the application of a type of reverse onus upon the accused to prove his defense, whereas, as stated by the court, the accused version only had to be reasonably possibly true. Put differently, the application of the two cardinal rules by this honourable court had to exclude the accused version being reasonably possibly true. Then we say this misapplication of the onus is further evident from the court having, in its concluding remarks, confirmed the two cardinal rules that require the inference sought to be drawn to be consistent with all the proved facts and to the exclusion of every reasonable inference from them, save the one sought to be drawn. This could never be the case in the absence of any objective corroboration that one would have expected to be present at the scene, such as damage to property, injury to people, or at the very least an expression of fear by anybody from the many people that have been in attendance at the celebration. And finally, in relation to the conviction, Your Worship, what we say is at the very least, it cannot be said that now the court might find differently or have a different assessment of all the evidence led in this trial. Consequently, it is respectfully submitted that the accused is not only a reasonable, but a good prospect of success on appeal, and this application for leave to appeal against the convictions ought to be granted. In relation to sentence, Your Worship, we submit the following. We say that the sentence imposed by this Honourable Court is startlingly inappropriate to the extent that it induces a sense of shock. We say further, due regard being had to the prevailing circumstance at the time of the commission of the offences, and more specifically that they all relate to the same event in a very limited period of time that did not exceed 1 minute, all of the counts ought to have been taken as one for the purpose of sentence. There is no need or basis to impose separate sentences in respect of each charge, as this court did. We say further, insufficient regard was had to the personal circumstances of the accused. Most significantly, he's a 45-year-old first offender who was 37 years old when his offences were committed. He has not been convicted of any other offences in the interim. Additionally, he is married, he has 3 children and a wife to support. He is in full-time employment. He is also involved in community projects and regarded as an asset to the community. There is no basis to contend that he is a danger to society, thus ought to be removed from society. In this regard, Your Worship, I wish to highlight that no regard was had to the fact that he's led a blameless life during the duration of this trial, and he hasn't committed any other offence, and this was not taken into account in the sentence that was imposed. Furthermore, when it came to his community project, Your Worship questioned the social worker who testified, Ms. Thompson, in relation to the soup kitchen under a question to clarify, and it went as follows, Your Worship, just to indicate the approach of Your Worship. It's at page 163 of the record. Your Worship says at line 16, okay, let me leave that. I have only 2 aspects left, no few in fact, because if I had it before the time, it may have been a different story. The other issue, not an issue, but if you can explain. I think we're going in the circle of a radius of 5 kilometers on each side of the court building. We're going to find about 4, 5, 6 soup kitchens. So, and this soup kitchen is specifically to the area Mr. Malema is coming from. Ms. Thompson says, correct, Your Worship. The court says, so that is, what value must the court attach to that? Because I read it is from donations. Ms. Thompson says, part of, yes. And through the facilitation of the involvement of the accused, Your Worship. So Your Worship says, so it will continue. She says, it will continue most likely, yes. Court says, okay, so there's nothing special about the soup kitchen. Ms. Thompson says there is, then Your Worship cuts her, and Your Worship says, except that he may want to be very thankful that people are being served a meal that is outstanding. Ms. Thompson says, yes, Your Worship, and it was mentioned as part of the consideration in terms of the risk of reoffence. So the point we're making, Your Worship, is Your Worship undermined, with respect, the role that the accused makes to society. Put quite differently, Your Worship, neither, to my knowledge, does Your Worship or anybody else in this court have the right to claim that they started or initiated a soup kitchen, but Your Worship belittled that approach by saying there's so many of them, they don't need him, whereas it was he who initiated it. So I needed to make that point. Turning to a more detailed list of what Your Worship had dealt with today, at the outset, Your Worship foresaw an application for leave to appeal. When Your Worship said, as to the firearm received from TSS, I dealt with this in my judgment. It will be an aspect for leave to appeal in the merits. There's no such finality in my judgment. This will rest until the leave to appeal. So it's quite clear, with respect, Your Worship, that you envisaged that there would be an application for leave to appeal, and that, with respect, permeated your judgment on sentence. When it comes to aggravating circumstances, Your Worship, you said that Advocate Caesar had highlighted and submitted that a custodial sentence was a normal, was the right sentence because this was a deliberate and executed with precision. And once again, Your Worship said these merits will be dealt with when we reach that point. So what we submit, Your Worship, is it was always envisaged by Your Worship that there would be an application for leave to appeal, and that this sentence bears that out. Your Worship also dealt with the accused being in a position of trust. Now, when we refer to a position of trust, Your Worship, is ordinarily a person who's an employee, who looks after money or assets on behalf of somebody else. It doesn't cover the situation dealt with in this matter. And we've never ever argued that there's an absence of accountability and a breach of trust. But all of this, Your Worship, will come to the final quote that I'll address Your Worship on before I make my conclusion. And that's to the effect that Madam Justice is meant to be blind and deaf, Your Worship, and not have regard to the actual specifics of the person when sentencing in the manner that Your Worship did so here. Now, Your Worship also asked the following in your sentence. You said, the event was planned, the accused said so. I stand corrected on this aspect. It was the 5th celebration, first of its kind, and I was told that it was a well-established tradition. She said, Your Worship said, I'm unsure about this. Now, Your Worship could have clarified that. The evidence was led, but to do so in your sentence, we say is a misdirection. Your Worship went further to say it was planned, the whole event was planned and ended up in offences being committed. That can't be true. Now, with respect, we say it's a self-defeating argument because if one says it was planned, then one must take into account that having been planned, there were no injuries, there was no damages, nothing untoward happened to anybody, and nobody expressed any fear. But that doesn't find any place in Your Worship's judgment on sentence with respect. And Your Worship then referred to the term of celebratory shots as an instance of sugarcoating, nothing more and nothing less. And we say in that regard, Your Worship erred, because it's Your Worship's finding as well. It was part of Your Worship's questioning of Ms. Thompson, that if it's my birthday, can I go down the street and start shooting? And she said, no. You said, well, aren't those celebratory shots? So the court knew all along that it was dealing with the celebratory shots, and that was the instance that had been clarified throughout. It wasn't a case of being part of another offence like a murder or anything. And if one draws a distinction here, Your Worship, and this is where we say you erred as well, in relation to the case quoted by my learned friend in this division. Firstly, that predated the one that we referred to. So it was taken into account when the second one was a non-custodial sentence by Brooks. He had already had regard to that full bench decision and didn't feel bound by it. We say those circumstances are clearly distinguishable. The man was a member of a gang. He had been involved in shooting and had previous convictions. There cannot, with respect, be any parallel drawn between that. He was in possession of an unlawful, unlicensed firearm, and somebody being handed a firearm and shooting a shot in the air, as is the conviction here. Your Worship also went into the merits of the matter when Your Worship said there should have been planning as to how, where, and what time you would take possession of the firearm, whereas there's no evidence to this effect with respect to Your Worship. Your Worship also said that such actions cannot be condoned by the court and used to justify shots as celebratory shots. Your Worship, when we're dealing with sentence, we're not asking for condemnation. We're actually asking the court to blend the sentence or the punishment with mercy. So there's no aspect of condemnation that comes to the fore because the person's already been found guilty. So we say you erred in that regard as well. Your Worship also said that much was made of this matter being brought to court or not being brought to court. Now, with respect, Your Worship, the accused was asked on this. He was asked, who do you think is behind this? And he gave the version. He said, I believe AfriForum is behind this. That was his version. This has caused a lot of consternation in this court. Even Your Worship yesterday said to my member of my team, Mr. Ngayatobi, why are you bringing AfriForum into it? And all he said was, it's in their heads, I'm quoting, and then Your Worship left it once it had been said it was the state that had raised it, but it was unfair to attack Mr. Ngayatobi in that regard. Your Worship also had regard to the financial aspect of this case on the taxpayers' pockets. With respect, Your Worship, that's a material misdirection. Could you imagine if we had to take everything into account in every trial, and with respect, it became something of a political speech to refer to the women who come here for maintenance can't get access to the court, the children that can't get their grants. Well, why don't we blame him for the potholes and for the weather as well, Your Worship, because they're unrelated. The NPA, if anybody, ought to have seen that the right resource was available. Here we sit with no aircon. Is that the accused's fault as well, Your Worship? Because the funds that were used for this trial weren't used for that. With respect, Your Worship, it's an improper approach to take, and you misdirected in that regard. It would seem that you were appealing more to the public and justifying the decision that you're going to make rather than using a legal basis to do so with respect to Your Worship, because they're not relevant factors in relation to sentence. We cannot, on the one hand, as Your Worship did, and I've quoted you say it's your right, your constitutional right to plead not guilty. You can have a trial. Oh, but by the way, you took up all these resources, therefore I'm holding you liable. That, with respect, is not a balanced approach, Your Worship. And Your Worship, this attitude is further borne up by Your Worship then carrying on through the time frame and saying, well, therefore the court is limited to what you're charged for and nothing more. Now, with respect to that implies that Your Worship wants to punish him for much more. We heard yesterday about all the different shots. We know as a fact, and Your Worship found that today there was only one shot in the charge sheet, there was one bullet in the charge sheet, there was only one ammunition, there was only one firearm. So it seems that Your Worship has misdirected Your Worship self in relation to the magnitude of what occurred that day. And it would be premised with respect then on the video that Your Worship allowed and then disallowed at the end. So we say that that's an incorrect approach to the entire trial, and more specifically the sentencing procedure, Your Worship. And then Your Worship dealt with the politics and that it's not a political party that has been convicted here. It's a particular accused. But there's no need, Your Worship. If you say, I'm holding you liable as the leader of the EFF, there's no need to say I'm convicting or I'm not convicting our party. It's self-explanatory. Then Your Worship turned to what Your Worship referred to as an uncomfortable topic and said that Your Worship had heard all the witnesses and Your Worship said that politics and law don't mix. They must stay in their respective lanes. Now, Your Worship, while saying that with respect, Your Worship, and in your attempt to distance yourself from that's exactly what you, with respect, made yourself guilty of. Because your reference to the public out there, to all the people that have suffered on account of this, was more of a political speech than a judgment on sentence with respect, Your Worship. And this, Your Worship, was also what was displayed yesterday, as I explained, in the confrontation between Mr. Ngayatobi and yourself relating to AfriForum, when it was the state who had referred to AfriForum. And Your Worship, another aspect that was highlighted and doesn't find any meaning is There was a debate yesterday, and even my learned friend wanted to continue further on the return of the firearm and what the correct procedure is. Your Worship, there can be no doubt, and Your Worship knows that Section 34, the court must make an order returning. The state can't decide halfway through a trial or at any juncture to return the firearm, and that ought also to have been part of Your Worship's judgment, that the rifle may be returned to its lawful owner. Your Worship identified the lawful owner in your sentence as Mr. Snyman, but Your Worship didn't go further and say, and he's now entitled to the return of his firearm because it wasn't handed by him, but it was given back to him after the event. But that wasn't taken into account. So a more benevolent approach would have taken those aspects into account.
So that's Advocate Lawrence Hodes, that's Julius Malema's lawyer, who is now filing an application to appeal this sentence. 5 years imprisonment, Julius Malema effectively being sent to jail for 5 years. It's not suspended, but they are launching an appeal now. So we'll wait and see what the outcome of this will be. But we've got a legal expert, we've got a political analyst as well, all lined up to try and help us make sense of what the consequences of the sentencing today are for Julius Malema legally and politically as well. Keep your WhatsApp voice notes and your calls coming as well. I'll get your reaction after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's 11:32. Bali has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. A very good morning. EFF leader Julius Malema has been handed a 5-year direct prison sentence. The Kukompo City Magistrates Court handed down sentence this morning after Malema was found guilty of violating gun laws last year. His conviction stems from a 2018 rally in Mdantsane where Malema was seen on viral video firing a rifle in public. Malema has also been given a 60,000 rand fine. In other news now, the Madlanga Commission has postponed the testimony of Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim to the 29th of April. Karim was due to testify today, but he is currently in hospital. Earlier this week, he suffered an undisclosed medical emergency while exercising at a gym in Sandton. An Action SA wants the public protector to reopen the investigation into the Palapala Farm matter. The party wants the office to probe the abuse of state resources in covering up the 2020 robbery on the president's farm. It says the original report placed emphasis on the conduct of the president and his personal protection unit. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling on the N12 East, we've got an accident reported right after the Diepkloof interchange. It's already causing some delays there. Please be on the lookout and approach with care. If you are traveling towards the Main Reef or Amalgam, do expect heavy delays on the M2 West between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. There's also queuing traffic in Bedford View along the N12 West towards the Giluli's interchange, and that's due to faulty traffic lights there. Traffic lights are still out of order in Midrand at the N1 and Olifantsfontein Road, as well as in Hyde Park at Winnie Mandela Drive and Jan Smuts Avenue. Please approach with care. If you're traveling in the city of Tshwane, do expect some issues being reported along the R80 East Mabopane Highway towards Eskom Patlele exit. There's also a bit of a hold-up reported. This is in the Erasmus Cliff area. This is along Delmas Drive. An accident reported right near the Solomon Mahlangu exit. It's also causing delays. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. Expect about a 15-minute hold-up along that intersection. And that's your last update from me. Amo Ramila Komutuminyai will have your next traffic report at the top of the hour. Onwards, stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja.
702 Afternoons is about all things in life, from music to inspiration. We get an opportunity to explore science, mental health, food. I almost feel like there's nothing we don't do on my show. One of the things I absolutely love about 702 Land and the 702 family is that we are so sharing. We share tears, laughs, smiles. We share in the amazing times and celebrate together as well. We have a range of topics, but when it comes to what we do cover on the show, absolutely everything. My listener is somebody who wants to grow, evolve, develop. They're empathetic, they are loving. They are so special that even when they don't have, they come through and share, and more importantly, they know how to walk the talk.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers two options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
Attention all shoppers.
Our supermarket shelves are full of unhealthy food. It's often hard for me to know which foods are good for my family. The information on packaged food is complicated and hard to understand. I wish we had easy-to-understand warning labels on foods high in salt, sugar, and saturated fat. We have the right to know what's in our food. Support front-of-package warning labels on unhealthy packaged foods. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
We said, let's talk shop. And small business owners answered, from the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. Now, 702 and MTN Business want to share their stories with you. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Listen to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and the Afternoon Drive with John Perlman all week to meet the businesses doing big things. Hear what it really takes to build something from the ground up. And if you're listening thinking, that sounds like my business, go to primemediaplus.com now to enter or nominate a small business you know, because the next business we talk about could be yours. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
Your voice,
Your questions.
your morning radio with Clement Manyathela.
This is 702.
It's 22 minutes before 12 o'clock. You're listening to the Thursday Dialogue, a different kind of the Thursday Dialogue, because we have got breaking news this morning. The Kukompo Magistrates Court has just sentenced Julius Malema to a direct imprisonment of 5 years. So it's 5 years for count 1. Remember, that was the charge of unlawful possession of firearm, and for 2 years for count 2, which is the unlawful possession of ammunition. But because they'll be running concurrently, what this effectively means is that he has to go to jail for 5 direct years. This is not suspended. But his legal team, Advocate Lawrence Hodes, whom we listened to before the headlines, has just been filing that application to appeal this sentence. I want to take some of your WhatsApp voice notes coming through on 072-702-1702, and then I'm going to bring in Pumelelo Zikalala, who's a legal analyst, to help us understand what's next and what are the implications.
Hi, Tlemza. Honestly, I didn't see this coming. I thought maybe he might get away with the suspended sentence or serving the community or the fine. But again, when I'm thinking the guy is arrogant, I think that's what led this to what it is. If you look at him singing "Kill the Poor, Kill the Farmer," the influence by the international presidents in this regard, I'm referring to Donald Trump. There's so many things that one can think of and take into account. They might be not indirectly visible and be identifiable, but I think it's all those things that really contributed to the situation that he find himself in. But yeah, that's just my thinking. That's just my analyzing the whole situation. Tulane Dlamini. Thank you, sir.
And then the team, when it comes to Julius's sentence, for me, it's like every citizen. I'm not sad, I'm not surprised. It's just how the law is supposed to work with every citizen of this country. If you break the law, there are consequences. So there's nothing special about Julius Malema. Even though he's a politician, he should have known even way better than anyone. So there's no sadness. It's how the rule of the law works in this country. So there's no sadness. So even him is even more privileged than anyone because he's gonna appeal. So imagine if it wasn't like a regular someone like me, I wouldn't have those option of appealing until God knows when. So yeah.
Yeah, look, the law is the law, right? And if really we live by the principle of equality before the law, regardless of who you are, then we must be happy at the administration of justice. I mean, you're not happy that someone is going to jail or someone has had something like this befall them, but you are happy because for me, this demonstrates that there's equality before the law. Remember what happened with Jacob Zuma? This is not the first time we have such a big political leader being sentenced to direct imprisonment. Zuma was in jail for how long? About 5 months, a couple of months or so. Have you ever heard that? I mean, a former president in this country going to jail? So that's equality before the law, my friends. Mpumelelo Zikalala is a legal analyst, so let's bring him in so he can help us understand where things are now. Thank you, Mpumelelo, for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Jonas. Good morning to our listeners.
So let's start with what we've just seen happen. Advocate Lawrence Hodes for Julius Malema was filing that application to appeal the sentence. So what can you tell us about this process? Do they have to appeal to this magistrate first? And she must decide today whether she grants that appeal or not? And what options are available for Julius Malema if this fails?
Yes, you have to appeal against the magistrate in which took the decision. Remember that they still need to provide reasons for that decision. They can come back and say, I'm sticking to what I've written on the judgment, or they can amplify whatever decisions that they've taken to say, in addition to what has been stated on the judgment, this is what I was thinking about when I issued this judgment. So when those judges are going to review from the High Court, they must take that into consideration. That may take a bit of time, which is why, while noting the notice to appeal has been filed, or the appeal itself, a person is then given bail, and they are probably they'll apply for bail to say, while you're still going to discuss this matter further, can you please let our clients go? The technical result is that once the appeal has been filed, the verdict of not guilty is then returned back to him, because I filed a notice to appeal against you, so you cannot say I'm guilty when the appeal is still pending. So that's what they're going to discuss from now up until later, and probably at a later stage. The further reasons will be supplied by the magistrate, or they can simply choose to say, I'm sticking to my judgment, take the matter on appeal and take it from there.
So are we likely to hear from this magistrate, Olivier, today about what her decision is based on what has been filed by Julius Malema's legal team, or this is something she could decide on in the coming days?
I think it's something that we'll decide on the coming days, because you are presented with legal arguments on the day. You do not want to bind yourself to something that you haven't really researched upon. So it's going to say, well, please give me some time, but while I'm mulling over it, let me release you on bail, and then you can continue, and then we'll continue with other.
And he's likely to be released on bail, right? Because I mean, he's not really a flight risk. His lawyers have also said this man has been at court every single time, so he's always respected the process. What do you think?
Definitely, they're correct on that one. If you see, most of the conduct of how you've acted while you are released on bail is going to be looked at. Now, if you've behaved right at court at all times and on the stated date, there are no reasons, or even if when you are absent, there's a plausible reason why you are absent, the judge or the court will not come to a conclusion to say this person is not a candidate for bail. Remember, the process is not to punish you. There's no punishment that must go through. Simply to say, if we release you, can we still be able to secure your attendance? And your track record will be able to prove that if you are released on bail, you do come back. So there's no reason that will then be to say, let's not grant you bail in this instance.
So help us understand the issue of parole. So it's count 1, 5 years, count 2, 2 years. So they will run concurrently. So what this effectively means is he's sentenced to a direct imprisonment of 5 years. So if he doesn't win with his appeal, and maybe even the higher courts are in fact not overturning the magistrate's sentencing, and they say, well, we think she was well within the legal prescripts to sentence you to this. So if his appeal fails, what does this mean? Like, how does parole come in here? How long is he likely to serve in in jail? Because it won't be the whole 5 years.
No. Yeah. Remember that when it comes to parole, it's a third of your sentence. So it's a third of 5 years. And then we'll start considering whether you're eligible for parole or not. Remember, during that time, there's constant monitoring on how you're behaving inside the institution. Are you attending any courses? When you attend those courses, are you participating meaningfully? Are there any other offenses that have been done while you're in prison? And if the answer to that is no, and the parole board that looks at your matter and says you are eligible, then you can be released within a reasonable amount of time. Also, considering in this case, you may find even the NPA being consulted to say, well, technically you are the individuals which would consider victims. Yeah, what's your view? And then let's take it from there. But it's not going to be the whole 5 years. Probably 1.5 years, which is full hard lockdown imprisonment. But after that, certainly it can be relaxed.
And maybe continue maybe the last year at home. Under supervision of the correctional services. What do you think of how he has handled himself in arguments? Because I'm thinking now, when it gets, the appeal arguments are being heard, maybe if they take it to the higher court, let's say this magistrate's court says no, do you think that he has shown remorse? And could that come back to haunt him? Because he, in my understanding, has continued to say, well, this was a toy gun, even though the court has said evidence suggests this way. And I know remorse can be quite a critical element in the aggravation or mitigation of sentence. So what are your thoughts on whether or not he showed remorse, and what do you think the consequences of this could be, even in this process he's about to undertake?
You see, we must remember that, excuse me, we must remember that what you need to consider as a presiding officer is what happens within the court itself. Because it is when statements which are under oath with the rules of evidence would have to apply to whatever evidence that you are going to use within that particular sentence. So if you then say someone is not being remorseful because they want to exercise their constitutional right, something which is available within the law in terms of appeal, it would be a wrong conclusion in which you would arrive at. That would mostly apply in instances where there's not even a trial that was had. The person came and said, I want to plead guilty, I do not want to waste the court's time. But even if they do not want to do so, that cannot be held against them. If they are right, it's an opportunity in which has been given to them in which they need to exercise that particular right. What is important to the presiding officer is then to come back and say, what type of elements are you going to look at in arriving at this sentence? On a technical basis, the Firearms Control Act, what it says, based on the evidence that was there, that evidence being obtained in a proper manner and assessed in a proper manner, this is the conclusion that you are coming to, and this is the sentence in which you are going to give.
Okay.
In this regard, the magistrate was very clear to say the law allows me to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to deflate from the 15 years and give you 5 years direct imprisonment, which for me might be a bit of a problem because not every person who is an offender deserves to go to jail. Jail must be the last resort. There are other means which could have been achieved or being utilized by the judge to make sure that the message of making sure as to how to use guns safely has been understood. The jail one is the ultimate, and I don't think it's the appropriate sentence that ought to have been given in this matter.
Okay, just lastly, Pumelelo, and quickly, everybody is now asking what is the impact going to be on his political career? And Section 47 of the Constitution comes to mind because it stipulates anyone convicted of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without an option of a fine is disqualified from being a member of the National Assembly. So count 1 and count 2 are without an option of a fine. So that affects Julius Malema. But then just explain to our listeners how this then gets affected by the appeal. At what point then does this Section 47 come into play?
It comes into play once the appeal has been done and dusted, because if you continue with Section 47, it does say the filing of an appeal has basically halts the implementation of what Section 47 actually says. So as the appeal has been filed or is being filed as we speak, it then means the status quo or the initially before the judgment was issued, we then go back to it. It's as if there's no criminal record or there's no finding that has been found by against Mr. Malema. He can still continue to go to Parliament, sit in all the committees, and be able to participate as a member of Parliament.
How long are we expecting this whole appeal process to take? And let's think the worst case scenario. Let's say it's going to go all the way to the Constitutional Court. Are we talking 3 years, 5 years?
I would say maybe 5 to 6 years, depending on how prudent with all these courts are. Because if you see, we still have to wait for reasons from this magistrate or the current magistrate that was hearing the matter. Then it goes to the High Court. Then the decision is taken. Then to the SCA, and then to the Constitutional Court. So it will be quite some time.
All right, buckle up. It's going to be a long road ahead. Mpumelelo Zikalala, legal analyst, thank you for helping us make sense of this sentence and its implications. Stephen Andrew Langa, I see your calls. I'll come to you after the break. It's 9 minutes before 12.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
Hi, this is Michael Owen, Hollywood Bets brand ambassador. Being a champion, I know the best performances come from making the right decisions on and off the pitch. Enjoy the game, enjoy the excitement, but play responsibly. Gambling responsibly is about staying in control so you can enjoy it your way. If you or someone you know needs support, help is always available. Call the South African Responsible Gambling Toll-Free Counselling Line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit chang'anmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan. Driven to evolve.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The numbers coming out from the Pay Inc. Economic Index showed that the March 2026 figure rose to 0.9% to 104 points, marking a 4.5% increase over the previous year.
We're going to have an analysis for 2026 pre-war and post-war. March's numbers are still good. It shows, the tailwinds that have been supporting the economy still prevalent in Q1, but unfortunately from April onwards, the scenario has changed abruptly.
Independent economist Elise Kruger.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show is brought to you by ABSA CIB. Invested in your story because your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
6 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's quickly get some reactions before we wrap up the show. Let's start with you, Langa, calling from Johannesburg. What do you think of what we've seen out of court today? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Great. Clement, listen, this is the win for our South African democracy and the judicial system. Like, as a nation, we've always wanted to see our judiciary to be seen as independent. Though we may have people that would want to claim that actually there's a dead hand with regards to in the AfriForum, but I'm saying kudos to the judge. He did an exceptional job. I'm excited. I'm over the moon.
All right, Langa in Joburg, thank you. Andrew, you are in Rosebank. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
I must tell you that it's not a judge, it's a magistrate. I don't know why people are calling to a judge. It's a magistrate that's heard this matter from a magistrate court. We're at the bottom court in this country. You're not at the top court in this country, a bottom court. And for Mr. Hodes to give closing arguments on an appeal that he did, surely he was ready for an appeal. He knew that his client was going to be sentenced to something. The appeal that he gave was totally a political speech. He should prepare a proper appeal with case law and the like. He's a senior counsel of 40 years experience. What kind of argument is that an appeal? I'm sure appeal will be granted, but that's not the way to appeal a matter. Why didn't he just wait one day and appeal it tomorrow? He could have appealed it tomorrow. He could have appealed it any time.
But what stopped him from doing it today?
Yeah, but the way that he did it, judge, magistrate, your worship, this, I don't know what, repeating himself about how Mr. Snyman, whether he handed the weapon or not, he didn't even go into any case law, there's a lot of people who have been convicted of similar crimes, that he could have went into the details of those similar crimes and similar matters as to why the appeal should be granted. So what he did was he was blaming the judge magistrate for being political, but he himself gives a political speech on why an appeal should be granted, saying that the guy, that Mr. Malema is an EFF, the head of the EFF and the like. It's not correct.
Yeah.
For a senior counsel of Mr. Hoda's standard, I've been against Mr. Hoda's myself in court. I'm embarrassed for the profession in that regard.
All right, Andrew in Rosebank, thank you for your call. Stephen in Centurion, what are your thoughts?
Clement, a sad day indeed. Not a sad day that Malema has been sentenced, a sad day on how things have come out to be. Let's put Malema out of this really and focus exactly what happened. It's two people here. One is a white person, one is a black person. The white guy who have been given the gun, who have custody of the gun, who must protect or make sure that the gun is safe, gives the gun to somebody who doesn't have a license to use that gun. But that guy got scot-free. Why? Because he's white. It is like that. So this whole process was running by the AfriForum. Just put it that way. The judge may have experience of 25 years, but the judge at the end of the day, if he's influenced and is pushing the political agenda, because it's not about Malema here, EFF is being persecuted here.
All right, so Stephen, do you think Julius was wrong to fire a firearm using live ammunition?
He was wrong, but the guy who gave him firearm also,
right.
Why is scot free?
Okay, Stephen in Centurion, I'm out of time. Thank you for your call, my brother. It's 3 minutes before 12.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
You wouldn't settle for burnt toast just because it's still bread. So why settle for less when it comes to car insurance? OUTsurance client 30-year-old Dineo knows all about getting more out.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an unbelievable 1,094 rand saving every month on her 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote today and see how much OUTsurance could save you. SMS cover to 30995. That's cover to 30995. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Too many learners are falling through the cracks. But on Monday, the National Education Summit 2026 is determined to change that. Join 702 live at the Gordon Institute of Business Science in Sandton as leaders, educators, and policymakers come together to reimagine South Africa's education system, from early childhood development to entrepreneurship and vocational training. This is where real solutions begin. 702 live at the Gordon Institute of Business Science. Monday, 20 April from 9 a.m. The National Education Summit 2026 on 702.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Good morning, Mandy.
Good morning,
What's
Clement.
popping?
Look, obviously the big breaking news story about Julius Malema being sentenced to 5 years in prison. We'll get lots of reaction to that. We'll speak to our reporters on the ground, in the courtroom, outside the courtroom. The Democratic Alliance has been reacting. Gayton McKenzie has posted on X saying he's not going to comment, but watch out for prison.
He's commenting that he won't comment.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll speak, obviously, to other political parties, gun-free South Africa. We'll get as much reaction to that, obviously, from listeners as well, picking up where you left off. That application for leave to appeal currently being argued. Julius Malema, I'm sure, also going to be addressing supporters outside court. We'll speak to the police as well, just to check that they're prepared in case there's any potential unrest as well. And then Nasipi Moya is currently delivering the State of the City address in Tshwane. We'll have a look at the Madlanga Commission, Action SA calling for the Pala investigation to be reopened by the Public Protector too.
All right, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. I'll be back with you tomorrow between 9 and 12. Thanks for listening today, my friends. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. EFF leader Julius Malema has been handed a 5-year direct prison sentence. The Kukompo Magistrates Court handed down sentence this morning after Malema was found guilty of violating gun laws last year. His conviction stems from a 2018 rally in Mdantsane where Malema was seen on viral video firing a rifle in public. Malema has also been given a 60